In this video we'll show how the data in a Viewbox can be populated dynamically in much the same way that a list control is populated. So you can see here that we have a Viewbox control over here, and we've specified that in this case the Viewbox is populated using a SQL query from the Northwind customer table. These are the columns that we've decided to retrieve from that table, and we specified a filter that says country equals what country. So what country is our argument, and we've basically said that the what country argument gets its value from the control called what country on the UX component. So, and then you can see, of course, in the Viewbox layout itself, we've got those controls and we've wrapped them in a list row container so that the Viewbox renders like a list. So now when we go ahead and we run the component, we can see that basically the Viewbox is empty right now because the what country field is blank. Therefore the argument that is bound to that field is blank, and therefore the filter for the Viewbox data returns no records. But if we go there and type in USA and then click the search button, then we can see that the Viewbox now gets populated with data showing the records in the USA. So what happened behind the scenes was that when we hit this search button over here, what was going on was we went to Action JavaScript and we said Viewbox controls, and we chose the action to refresh the data in Viewbox 1. So when we press the refresh, when we press this button, an AJAX callback is made and the query for the Viewbox is re-executed, and then the Viewbox is repopulated. So let's go back here, and this time let's go to this what country field and actually set a default value. So now when we render the component, we actually get to see the records for Denmark. But if we go here and type in USA, then you can see that we're now seeing the records in the USA. So this is a fairly constrained way of searching for records in the Viewbox. We can also basically create arbitrary queries that use our own AJAX callbacks to get the data for the Viewbox and then populate the Viewbox. So now let's look at this second technique over here, and you can see what we have over here is a drop-down list set to display multiple rows at once, and also configured to allow multiple selections. So I'm going to go there and control click to click on several different records, and then I'm going to go here and click the populate Viewbox button, and you can see now that the Viewbox gets populated with all of the records that have a country equal to one of these selected countries over here. So in this case we were doing a completely arbitrary query for the Viewbox. So let's go now and see what's happening behind the scenes. So when we look here at the populate Viewbox control, we'll see that this is just a standard AJAX callback that is making a call to an XBasic function called XB populate Viewbox. So now let's go look at the code here in this function. So here's our code, populate Viewbox, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create an argument array, because we'd like to create some SQL that uses the in clause, and when you use the in clause in AlphaDIO, the argument that you pass in that contains the argument values needs to be an array argument. So we're going to use this special helper function over here. So we're going to dim args as SQL : arguments, and then we're going to basically create a argument called countries, but we're going to basically use the special helper function called argument add array argument. So this is an XBasic helper function, and what this function is going to do is going to create an argument array using all of the values that were submitted in the countries field. So recall that countries was a multi-select field, and therefore the data that was submitted is in the form of an array. So therefore we do e.datasubmitted.countries.dump. So that takes the data in the array and creates a CRLF delimited list from that list. So let's pause now and pick this up in the next video. So we're continuing now with the video showing how you can dynamically populate the data in a Viewbox control, which is particularly useful when you're rendering the Viewbox to look like a list control. So here you can see we've created an argument called countries, but it's in the form of an array. And then we're using our select statement where we search for all records where the country is in one of the items in the array. So then we go ahead and we execute we open the connection and we execute the query, and then if the query was successful, we basically get the data from the query, from the result set, in a JSON format. But this format here is not a true JSON format. It's basically just a CRLF delimited list of objects. So we need to basically put a comma after each line and then put in an opening square bracket and a closing square bracket, so that this is now a proper JSON array format. And then we send back, we compute the JavaScript to send back to the client side. So the first thing we do in our JavaScript is we get a pointer to the Viewbox control. Then we basically create a variable called data, and we set data equal to this JSON variable, which is the result of the query. And then we basically call the Viewbox's populate method, passing in the data. So let's go ahead now and run this, and we'll just debug through it so we can see the code executing line by line. Oops, sorry about that. So let's go here with our debug 1, go there, and let's click on Argentina and Brazil. Actually Argentina, and then click on Brazil and then hit the populate button. So if we go here and look at e.data submitted on countries, we can see that that's an array with 2 items in it. So we'll create our SQL arguments there, and then we'll call the argument add array options. And if we go look now at args, we'll see that basically the one argument there has a type of C colon, which means a C square bracket, open square bracket, close square bracket, indicating that it's an array argument and there are the items in the array. So this is a special type of arguments. It's this array argument. So now we'll go ahead now, define the SQL, execute the SQL, and then basically take the result set and dump it to JSON syntax. So now we look here in JSON, and we see we have a CRLF delimited list of JSON objects, but we don't have the square bracket at the start or the comma after each row. So we'll go there and put the comma after each row now, and then add in the square brackets. So now this string over here, JSON, is in the format of an array literal. So now we're going to go ahead here and compute the JavaScript response to send back to the client. So let's take a look now at what JS looks like. So this is the JavaScript that we're going to send back to the client. You can see here we're getting a pointer to the Viewbox, we're getting the data over there into an array, into a variable called data, and then finally we're going to call the populate method on the Viewbox, passing in this data over here. So go ahead now and run it, and we can see now that our Viewbox has been populated. So what we've shown in this video is how you can create an arbitrary AJAX callback to compute the data that needs to be shown in the Viewbox, and then send back the JavaScript command to populate the Viewbox. Thanks very much for watching.